Hey everyone, I'm Emily.
I'm Robbie.
I'm Kat.
And welcome to The Film Strip. Today, we're joined with special guest Jordan. The Film Strip is a movie review podcast where we discuss and analyze a different movie each episode. Forewarned, there are spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen the movie, go check it out beforehand. For today's show, we are going to be discussing Joker, directed by Todd Phillips. In Gotham City, mentally troubled comedian Arthur Fleck is disregarded and mistreated by society. He then embarks on a downward spiral of revolution and bloody crime. This path brings him face to face with his alter ego, the Joker.
Hi.
Sup?
Hello.
Hello.
How's everyone doing?
Pretty good, I
good.
guess, yeah.
Yeah. We should mention that we have a special guest today. Jordan.
Yes.
Jordan, say hello.
Sup, my dudes?
Hey. Cool. So this episode, we're going to be talking about Joker
Yes.
2019.
Directed by
Directed by
Todd Phillips.
good old Todd Phillips.
And Joker is played by Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin.
The Phoenix.
He's an interesting actor.
Yeah.
So what is our first impressions of, like, before maybe going into it, or maybe like directly after? Like, how do we feel about it?
Well, should we address the whole like controversy first of all? 'Cause
Oh, yes.
that was like a big thing for all of us wanting to go in the first place, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
We wanted to go like first week. Like
Oh,
we
like
wanted to go to
almost
the
opening
first
night,
week.
yeah.
Opening night. But then there was
Media blow up.
there was news stories that were saying like, caution, because
In
just
the Dark Knight did
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
shooting in one of the cinemas was it in Florida?
No.
Not entirely sure.
I don't think
I don't know
so.
where it was, but I just
Either way, there was a
remember it.
concern that
Yeah.
the safety
Yeah.
of people going.
And there-
I feel
to
like
movies.
I only got worried once they made it like a big point, like be careful.
On the
Like
news,
if they didn't
yeah.
say anything about
they were
it,
like, yeah.
Because it
probably
was
no
the
one would have thought
families
twice.
of the victims of that shooting that were warning the news about it. They were like, well, we've lost people because of that.
Yeah.
So
But there's been other,
That's
you know,
upsetting.
like DC movies and stuff like that, and other like serious movies that have come out since then. But I don't think there's been like
yeah,
big
like
warnings.
Joker's appeared in a movie before, like Suicide Squad, but
Right.
they never really had.
But then again, that was Jared Leto.
that was shared. Like,
it was I
That's
mean, like
tea,
the
but, like,
character in general.
I think this
Yeah.
one was definitely going to be a darker movie. So
I think,
people might
yeah.
have-
Yeah,
it
that was another
like,
thing.
We,
yeah.
we knew
And
it
there
was
was-
rated R and like.
Yeah, and there was certain theaters that were coming out and saying like they weren't going to let anyone in if they were dressed up.
That movie theater
or
specifically that had the shooting never showed the Joker.
yeah.
Oh,
Fun fact.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, beyond that, my first impression of that of this movie, actually was like going into it. I was like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be good, truthfully, because I had an idea that maybe this is being biased, but DC movies, when it comes to like superhero movies, I kind of favor more of Marvel just when it comes to like movies, because Marvel usually does it better, and DC has had a couple of bad ones.
But I also knew, like, my first impression, I knew this was going to be different than all of, like, the other superhero type movies that have come out recently, like Endgame and Spider-Man and movies like Aquaman from DC. Like, I knew this was different. Like, they were going for something completely,
Yeah.
like, their own thing.
I think I felt the same way, but at the same time, I tried to come in. I tried not to look at what anyone else was saying. I just wanted it to be my opinion when we
Right.
got to talk about it here.
I think afterwards, after watching the movie, I realized it wasn't so much a blockbuster like you were saying, Kat.
Yeah.
I think I realized, oh, this was a cinematic like movie.
Yeah.
Like this was a
Almost felt kind of indie.
yeah. I mean, it had those aspects of it in it, and I was like very pleased. I think that usually I go into movies like very like open-minded, very like, oh, if it's good, it's good. If it's not so good, then whatever. My expectations are usually never really one way or the other. But for this one, I think it was bad in the beginning because I don't know why. I just didn't think it was going to be good, and I was very wrong. I was pleased by this movie. I was shocked by it. I'm still like kind
Truthfully,
of shook by it.
Truthfully, for me, I think it's one of the best DC movies I've seen in a while.
Scratch
That is
that.
true.
I think it is the best DC movie.
Yeah.
Period.
This is so wait. The Nolan,
Apart from, Dark Knight though.
but those aren't. I mean, those. Yes, it's a DC character, but it's not through DC Comics.
Yeah, I
right. Like
I think
there's
the
MCU.
Joker is the same as like that as the Nolan movies, right? Like,
Well, there's
it's a DC character, but
right.
it's
No, but like
through a different
I saw like
lens.
in the some of the production companies.
yeah.
Like it was like DC Comics was a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
They've just disassociated it with
Exactly.
the movies that have come out, like the DC universe. I think DCCU or something. EU extended.
the one equivalent to
Yeah.
like the MCU.
yeah.
So that's what I was
Well,
kind
It's like a standalone.
what I had
its own thing.
seen, I mean, after the movie, I like looked up like some facts or whatever, and it was saying there was one thing that said like that the movie's actually meant to start a new company, and that it's supposed to be a standalone movie from the rest that have come out previously.
Okay. Well, that makes sense though, because
Yeah.
like this one was actually good.
Yeah, because
No
Yes.
shade to the others.
because it was the producer that went up to Warner Brothers saying that he wanted to do a full series. He wanted to call it DC Black.
That's
But you know, Warner Brothers, they were just like, okay, bro, calm down. We'll just do the one movie for now, see how it goes.
Right.
But considering it went well, I have a feeling that there might be a reboot. But
I mean, if they
wouldn't
do it like that, I wouldn't be upset about it.
yeah, I mean, like I've
This-
wanted them to do that for a while too. So
This like the movie, I was so shocked by how like real like
Exactly.
it was. Like
Yeah.
it was crazy.
that's why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
Because I know like Marvel isn't like, it does have its grounded moments,
Right.
but it makes fun of itself for being kind of a bit out there. Like every once in a while, like I know in Infinity War, there was this joke when Iron Man was just like, you got to get the wizard who's got
Right.
the time stone from this one guy from space. Like
Yeah,
he was kind
yeah.
of making fun of it.
I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe knows that they're good.
Yeah.
Knows that they have they've locked down their audience, which majority of them are like young audiences. Because if you look before like the first Iron Man, I love how we're talking about this on a DC.
I know.
oriented- But anyways,
Wow.
but like my point is that like Iron Man, that was more serious, and nowadays like
Had a very
Endgame and stuff,
different
this is
feel.
more exactly
More Disney.
Disney approach.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see this whole Joker type movie.
Yeah.
It's almost reminiscent of Iron Man in terms of the seriousness feel, but this is more dark, more real, and I want to see more movies
It's
like this.
It's so raw, and like even in the scenes where it does get violent, it doesn't move on so quickly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that surprised me
It's-
the most
yeah.
because it just like I don't know. Yeah.
It wasn't like a blockbuster type like violence. You know what I mean? Like where it's like big, flashy, like
Exactly,
gold, like
exactly,
like blood.
exactly.
But this was like grotesque, like real, like you.
Like I believe that
can't-
happened.
Yeah, you believe that it
Yeah.
happens, and you can't believe that it is like happening.
Yeah.
kind of thing. Which we'll definitely get into that.
Yeah.
But I guess we should kind of move on to a little bit. I want to talk about the opening because I think the opening for me for this movie is what like. So here I am in the theaters, like, okay, this movie is going to be okay, and then here comes the opening. I'm like, oh wait.
Your
so
expectations
The
were
expectations
kind
was
of
like, wait a
shattered, yeah.
second. With first of all, Joaquin's performance of just like I don't even know. It was like unsettling.
the laugh.
The laugh, but before that, I think what got me was that like him forcing a smile, like as like he's getting ready, like so this character Arthur, right?
Arthur Fleck.
Which we Arthur Fleck, which we learned is I guess his name before he becomes Joker, and we'll talk about that. But he is getting ready. He's putting his makeup on for the clown sort of gig, and he's like forcing himself to smile. And meanwhile that's happening, you hear in the radio that like Gotham is like run down. There's like trash everywhere.
Yeah.
So it sets up this mood of a very bleak, very like sad, depressing.
a depressed
vibe.
world for him to live in straight away.
Exactly. And then you have him trying to be happy, and then like that tear that went down. It was just like I feel like that was sort of a good embodiment of just like what this movie was. And so to me, that was like such a great way to open it. And then of course we hear like his laugh and everything and how unsettling that is. Because at first, I don't think the audience realizes, at least I didn't, that the laugh isn't like by his choice.
It's a medical condition.
It's a medical condition. It's something that he just can't help but do, which really adds to like the whole Joker type like character. But the way that they did it in the movie was like, it just made it very unsettling. It made it very like uncomfortable.
Yeah,
for the viewer.
and actually, like Joaquin himself said that what he based the laughter off of, he actually looked up videos of people suffering from pathological laughter. So what the Joker suffers within the movie.
Yeah, and I think that just talks to how much real this movie is, right? Like,
yeah.
But the thing is, I think I remember Todd Phillips saying in an interview that they didn't completely diagnose him because they didn't want to put like a stamp on exactly what he had,
right?
Yeah,
to kind of add to the mystery in a way. But
that is true.
Yeah,
I mean, so Arthur, the character, he has this condition, right? And he has these cards that I guess, I mean, kind of explain what his condition is. It doesn't excuse it, certainly, but it like kind of gives way of like what's going on. And like up until that point where he gives that card to the lady on the bus, you know, I didn't really put that together, or I didn't really like it wasn't like so much apparent to me that, you know, he really cannot control this. It's just something that is happening, and he depends on medication too.
Yeah,
I think that part was awesome as well. It's like that's never been a thing in the comics either. So like for me coming in, it was like I'm seeing like a new rendition of him from the scratch.
So you've read, you're pretty familiar with the comics? I'm
familiar with like his comics and, you know, his backstories and things. So like there are certain things that are like new and certain things that they do give a nod to. One of his let me look it up real quick. There was one of his older, more famous Batman comics. It's called The Killing Joke. I don't know if
I've heard of it. I've never read it.
I've heard it. It's close. Like his backstory is probably the closest to The Killing Joke. He's, you know, a comedian, and his past is what they call multiple choice. So like you don't really know what happened to him. I want to go into more detail about that later, because there's this like one line that the director says, the producer says, about his backstory.
Right.
And
that's very interesting, because I wanted to know like how much of this movie, because you have to think about like this Joker character, like the Joker in general, when it comes to like on-screen performances, have been done quite often. I mean, we have, of course, Heath Ledger, which is kind of infamous, but then we go
Jack
to
Nicholson,
Jared Leto. Then there's the TV series ones, and then, you know, all these performances. Like, how do you stand out? And I think Joaquin, like I certainly thought like this isn't. You almost like felt bad. Like he was very human.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that more within superhero movies, of more kind of sympathetic villains, you know, like especially back to Marvel with like Black Panther and Killmonger and his whole like motive. Like you kind of understood where he was coming from. And with Joker, you kind of understand his pain. Obviously not everyone goes to that level, but you kind of see like his progression.
Yeah, that's good that they're doing that now, though, because before it used to be just like, I'm gonna blow up the city because I can.
It makes it that it like, I feel like it brings the audience more into the character, because it is like it's real. It's like very...
I mean, so like, you know, villains from before, and I think like the traditional sense of a villain is like they're undeniably like evil, and they just do bad to do bad. But like more villains nowadays are, you know, there is another side to them. You have to think, you're almost contemplating like, well, did he do something wrong? Like, kind of makes sense why he did this. And I think the sympathetic part comes from just kind of the bleak environment that he is placed in and how misunderstood he is. Him being bullied by like some street rats who stole his sign, and then he gets jumped and he gets kicked over and over and over and over.
Beaten.
Like that. And that was in the intro of the movie. And like that to me was kind of like, oh my God, this poor guy. Like he's just being a clown. Like first of all, like I don't like clowns.
It's his job.
But, but like I'm not going to beat up
and
a clown.
steal a sign.
Right.
Because he's just doing his job. He's just working. But these are like real villain kids.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, it kind of like puts it up to like, you know, the good Samaritans, good citizens are kind of to blame. Like it's kind of the environment to blame, not so much the villain.
Yeah, it kind of puts in his head that he's the good guy.
Yeah.
Which is always a good thing when creating a villain, because they always think that they're in the right, and you know, you kind of want to be put in his shoes.
Right.
His big clown shoes.
So let's talk about speaking of like clown shoes, the appearance wise of this Joker is very different. First of all, we see it. Oh, do you want to add something?
No, you can keep going.
I was gonna say like this one is more of like, it really embraces that whole like clown aesthetic, because he is like actually a clown. Like he's actually,
that was his day job.
His day job. And you know, he has like that fake hair, big shoes, and like red nose and all that stuff.
I had found something that said that like his makeup is very similar to the old serial killer John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
And that is crazy, because it's that's I don't know if this is a for sure thing that they based his makeup off of the serial killer, but it is very similar if you look it up. That's scary.
At first, like, did you watch the trailer for it when it came out?
I did.
At first, I didn't really like it, but it grew on me. Like when I watched the movie, I was like, yeah,
his appearance.
Real.
Yeah.
I really loved it when I first saw it. I'm also just a fan of, you know, like vintage fashion, and this is like this is set 1981, right? So it's very late 70s, early 80s, and I like immediately loved it with like the suit and like kind of like the color blocking. I think the costume designer Mark Bridges did a good job.
Yes. I think also the way that they shot this was very of that time. Actually, so I watched a video on YouTube, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but I think it was like through Vanity Fair. It was with the director, but he was talking about like when they were filming this movie, they were focusing on referencing movies from that time period, so that it felt very much like you were in that environment.
And it did.
And it did. And whether that's the costume or like actually like the buildings around them, the cars, everything about it did feel that way. And so where I was going with this was kind of like, I was just thinking about that one scene where like, yes, he's a clown and you know, this is his daytime job. But he gets the gun because
from his
worker, because he has to self-defend himself. Right.
Yeah.
And this is this point where like he acquires the gun. Like it makes you think, this is like such a standpoint in my mind. Like if he never got this gun, then what follows after this maybe would have never actually happened.
Yeah, because he knew like initially when he got that gun, he's not supposed to have it.
Right.
Like I think with like his therapist and everything and like his mental state, he's not supposed to have a weapon because it could be dangerous for himself and for others. And I think that was definitely a turning point when he received it.
And it was kind of like a point where, okay, first he took the gun because he was just going to take it. But I think for him, it was uncomfortable for him at first. He starts learning how to use it. And we even see one scene where like he like is dancing with the gun
and
playing around
and like
with
it fires. And that just shows like the adolescence of it. And then of course his medication drops off.
Because funding was cut.
Yeah, from the city.
Funding is cut from the city.
Well, because of
yeah.
Thomas Wayne.
Right. Which we'll get into him because like T on him. But he so there he is with this gun, and then now with the medication. So like really like he is no longer held back by anything, and this feeling of being misunderstood is becoming less and less tolerable for him, where he's reaching out as a person. He's becoming a little bit more like, I guess, expressive by going to stand-up comedy and stuff. And it just makes me wonder, like right at the end of that point, like if man, what kind of movie would this have been if he didn't get the gun? But like of course we have to
would
see
have been
this
no
all
movie
unfold.
at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's talk about Thomas Wayne and the whole like dynamic between impoverished people like Arthur and like his environment versus the people that are on top. They're kind of
the 1%.
Yeah, the 1%. Yeah, exactly.
Of Gotham. Yeah.
Of Gotham City.
Exactly.
So he's running for mayor, right?
He's well, I think at first he was hesitant, but then he does run for mayor because
of the incident
on
the train. So the train scene, there's a woman who's being harassed by these three men. Yeah. And she kind of looks to Arthur for maybe some help or
just like
something.
Acknowledgement that this is like going down.
That someone will be there for her. And he starts laughing because of his condition, and I guess he starts to get uncomfortable. And so their attention shifts from harassing this woman to harassing Arthur. And I think the three men were pretty drunk, it seemed.
Yeah.
So
and they seemed like they were like businessmen.
Three businessmen.
Yeah, three young businessmen.
Yeah.
And so they start picking on him. The woman kind of gets her chance to get out of the situation and leaves the train. And they start picking on Arthur because he's laughing and he can't stop himself. And they just start beating him up. Yeah. And so because for self-defense, Arthur pulls out his gun, shoots two of them, shoots the third one as he's running, but the third one got shot in the leg.
Right.
So he was able to get to like another cart, and he was trying to seek help, but eventually when he got off the train, Arthur shot the last one.
Yeah. Like executed him.
Yeah.
The gun like immediately made it immediately go so intense, and like it really like got crazy. Because if you think about it, in the beginning of the movie, he has no gun and he's defenseless, and those kids are beating him up. But this time,
so he just takes
he has a gun, and like when he whips that gun out and he like starts shooting, like first of all his aim is like spot on somehow. Like he like shoots one like right in the middle.
He's
like
not
his
far.
eyes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there's kind of some like passion and anger behind it, because not only did he like, they weren't so much they didn't pose a threat. The last one didn't really pose a threat because he had already been shot. He couldn't really beat the last one. And so he still goes after him. He still kind of execution style goes after him because he's probably angry.
This is his point where he really is taking like matters into his hands, and this is where I think this is the moment where he realizes, okay, violence is the answer. This is how I am understood. This is how I get to be heard. My voice, all this types of things, and like you said, that passion comes out. So following that, of course, the whole town, the whole city is now torn between whether to look at this clown incident, this whole like horrific murder of these three businessmen, or the justable, heroic, like they say in the movie,
kind of vigilante
action of the clown, of someone on the bottom. But anyway, so Thomas Wayne, he kind of like basically compares all the lowlifes of Gotham to clowns, and was siding obviously with the upper class businessmen, which that was a very political thing, and it definitely escalates later into the film.
Yeah, I kind of like the way that's how the Joker kind of gained his army, is like of people just like him. And like the fact that Thomas Wayne called them clowns, and they all started dressing up as clowns.
Right.
Like I thought that was like just perfect.
That
They,
like,
used, used his words against him.
Like he didn't straight up go and try and build an army. Like his people are his army, kind of thing, like that.
I think that's something with like Arthur's character, like
because I was gonna think about how that would have happened.
He's not really malicious in like his actions of like, oh, I'm trying to get like a following. I'm trying to like be so he's not trying to plan strategic and like that's not his like goal. And like even later on in the movie, he doesn't really care about that. But like he feeds into it because he knows that, okay, like this is totally being heard now, and like people resonate with that. So whether he knew he was going to have that impact or not, that's sort of what happened. And then I guess I felt kind of like when stuff started to kind of fall apart was when, and I might be jumping a couple scenes, but when he finds out about like the truth about like where he came from, because he is adopted, right? But we don't know that before, and so he's this figure who has only a mother that he's with and he's taken care of, but he has no father. Yeah, and so he seems very lost because of that. And he's always trying to get kind of like approval or validation from some adult male figure. And we see that with what's his face? Robert De Niro plays him. I forget his name.
It's Murray.
Murray Franklin.
Murray Franklin.
How about another?
Which is Murray? Which is like an equivalent to like a Jimmy Fallon, like late night kind of
talk show host.
And so this is where we get the first taste of kind of like the delusion of Arthur. So he's watching this show with
he creates these fantasies in his head. He creates this
fantasy that like he was like this praised
in the studio audience.
Right, in the studio audience.
Murray like praises him for taking care of his mother and for trying to be a comedian, because he looks up to him.
Right. I like the transition into that, by the way. I didn't even notice it was a thing.
Right. So because
we were in the bedroom with Joker.
Right.
And
that's when the show was starting.
Yeah, when the show was starting. And then you're in the perspective of Murray.
And you're like, wait,
and it's like, oh, okay. That like, transition was really cool.
Seems real. But then that's that whole like point of like him, and the way that they did that in the movie, I thought was really clever. That it was really like you were watching it through Arthur. And then you come to realize it was all like a vision that he had, and it's kind of sad. And there again is now you're feeling that sympathy for this character. You're feeling sad for this.
He just wants to be recognized.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that kind of leads up to. Well, I don't know if we should get to that immediately, but I was going to talk more about the Murray show. But did you have anything to add?
Well, we can get into. Zazie Beetz' character, Sophie.
Oh yes,
his neighbor in his apartment building.
Where she seems pretty like, I don't know. If I lived in that kind of like neighborhood, like I don't know, I would not trust.
I wouldn't talk to any random person in an elevator,
especially like his demeanor like gives off this very like unsettling vibe, and like she was.
Yeah, sometimes in those situations, you're just trying to be friendly because you don't know everyone's story. So I think she was just trying to like make a little light conversation while she was in an elevator with him.
Yeah,
and then
he was charming to the little girl, trying to make him, and that's his whole thing. He's just trying to make people laugh, and so he's trying to make that little girl laugh. And
I did think it was interesting, like seeing his social skills in that situation, where after like she was walking away, and then he goes puts his fingers to his head or something, and
which she did that before, and it was just kind of like I feel. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I'm sorry. I think what I kind of picked up is like I think he really just mimics his surroundings. Like he like social cues and stuff. Like the fact that she did it first, like that made him feel comfortable enough to like joke back. And
but he kind of took it just like a little. Like just up a level to where it's a little bit uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I don't think he's aware of that at all.
Because you see at some points in the film, he goes to like the stand-up comedy club, and he's watching other comedians, and he's kind of writing down notes like, what do people laugh at? What do people like not like? Because he's trying to figure out like.
Did you guys notice that when he laughed, it was just like at the wrong beat?
Yeah.
Like he was laughing at the wrong things.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and that's such a I'm glad you brought that up. There's such a like difference between, I guess, him actually laughing and like him like uncontrollably laughing. I'm not gonna like imitate it because that would be but like, you know, his normal laugh is like very like piercing, like high pitched, versus the other one, which is the same in the same manner, but like both of them are so jarring, and like, which is like a real like testament to like how in the comics Jokers have been kind of told about, or like how they've been portrayed in other places. So I did like that, but yeah, he was trying too hard to become a comedian, which is kind of like it's like, oh god, this is not going to end well for him. It's
so sad because it's like the one thing that he wants is to like make people smile, to make them laugh, and like that's so innocent, and it's just like it's so hard seeing him trying so hard to do that, and it's not working out.
Well, and then it gets thrown in his face.
Yeah.
Yep, it does.
Because Murray season.
Yeah. It's part of like the darkest point of his life so far, where he's like, first of all, he just found out that his mom was, well, first she was
backing up a little bit.
Sorry.
I was going to talk about the letter where, because his mom has been writing letters to Thomas Wayne, and she said, she tells him she used to work for him and stuff like that, and so he's trying to figure out like, why is she so interested in getting a letter back from him?
Right.
So he reads one of the letters, and she's saying like, hey, your son and I need your help.
You're like, oh, gasp.
So yeah,
son.
Is Thomas Wayne
right
Arthur Fleck's father? Is that, and he's questioning his whole life now. And then later on, she has like a stroke, and she ends up in the hospital.
Yeah. Well, she has a stroke because while all of this is going on, the cops are investigating the shooting. And so the reason, I guess, we assume that why she had a stroke is because she was being questioned and she was alone, because Arthur, for some reason, I think he was at his comedy club at the time.
Oh, probably.
And that happened, and he heard that his mom was in the hospital, and so he went to, he was outside their apartment building, and he saw that she was being taken out by the ambulance. Well, so obviously that was like a big thing for him, because he is sort of a protector of the mom. Yeah. I mean, he is, like, bottom line, like, he is a sweetheart to his mom, and means well, and, you know, all that. He's a mama's boy, obviously. And so, like, seeing her being strolled off into... That's the only person he has. Right. Yeah. Like, it was very, traumatic for him and stuff like that. On top of that, of course, there's an investigation going on about him because it's about a clown. Yeah. And he's actually a clown. He was fired from his clown job because he had the gun at a children's hospital, and it kind of fell out of his pocket. But he claims it was just a prop to his boss, but still he was let go. Right. And the coworker who sold him the gun kind of sold him out on that, because he wasn't going to speak up and say, yeah, I did it. Because he's looking out for himself too. Exactly.
But do you want to go into that a little bit more detail, the hospital scene?
The hospital scene?
Yeah. I remember that at the darkest point of his life, like his mom's in the hospital, the Murray show comes on. Yeah. And he kind of he plays clips of Arthur Fleck's stand-up routine and kind of makes fun of him and digs into him. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he mocks him. But were you talking about like the children's hospital?
At the children's hospital. Okay. So I remember you saying that you actually found that scene kind of funny.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. it
And
just
didn't you
it
say
was a
it was
funny
funny as
visual.
well?
It was
of just
I think it was supposed to be
it's not supposed to be like
right.
how funny like
That may
I
have
thought it
been-
was.
I don't know. I personally didn't find any comedy in that. I don't know. I just didn't.
That
see
may
it that way.
but there is a reason I feel like, because that may have been the only time I laughed in this movie. Although it talked about clowns, although it's supposed to be like kind of comical, like even at the comedy points, none of it was tasteful comedy. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't going to make me laugh because I knew that it was at the expense of something else or someone else. So a lot of the times, like, you know, whether Murray's making fun of him or like the jokes that Arthur's literally telling, but it's not landing. Like it's just awkward and it's not funny. That one, it slipped out, which you can look at it kind of funny because it's like, oh crap, you really just messed up. But also it's like, this is for the kids. Like, oh my god, that's
It
so
was
wrong.
just weird. It was just to me, and what I like. Sometimes I have a weird, I guess, sense of humor, but I know like in the scene it's not supposed to be like like dying laughing, but
right.
I was just
Yeah.
It was just one of those things that caught you off guard or something.
Yeah, it just caught me off guard, like where it just fell out, and the kid was just looking at it like, "What is this?"
I think it was like he kind of. It was just an awkward scene. It was supposed to be uncomfortable, obviously, because like that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah,
but
I think it's what
I chuckled. I chuckled because I laughed at it too, and I thought it was funny because when he finally does pick it up, he like shushes the kid. He's like, "Oh, don't tell anyone," and it's like, it's too late.
The cat's already out of the bag. You know?
Yeah.
But going on with the whole like laughing thing. And jumping back to, yes, his mom's in the hospital. She just had a stroke. He sees that he's being made fun of on the Murray show. So like on the TV show.
By the man he looked up to.
Exactly. So like that's kind of shattered for him.
Because it's like the one thing he felt proud of, and he was, putting himself out there.
Exactly.
And he wanted to be this comedian, but his favorite icon just shut him down.
Yeah, and like made fun of his condition and everything. Like Arthur can't control when he laughs.
Right.
Like he was just trying to get comfortable.
He's in a very like childlike mindset. You know what I mean? Like So like any sort of negativity, it's like almost it's personal to him. I think to someone else they would have probably found it like, well, forget him because like he doesn't, But like for him, for Arthur, it was like kind of personal. But speaking of taking things personally, I want to talk about the scene, and I want to also like refer back to like the whole laughing thing. Is that scene where his coworkers, they come over to kind of like see how he's doing, check up on him because like his mom's in the hospital, and everything's okay at first, and like he's getting dressed up as a clown because after that whole like thing kind of spiraled about the Murray and like had a stroke, he actually ended up getting attention for the show, and they were going to bring him on. So there he is getting ready for this for his debut on the show
on the Murray show.
On the Murray show. So like he's now excited again about it.
So he's dyed his hair.
It dyed his hair,
but he's painted his face just white.
Just white, yeah. And so like it's very like he's now embracing his I don't know how to describe it, like his look, his whole clown aesthetic, but like now it's more refined, now it's a little bit more tactful. So his former coworkers I should say, come in and they're just checking up on him. Everything's fine, everything's okay, and of course you see him grab a
pair of scissors,
which first of all you would think in the beginning of the film, if you saw him grab a pair of scissors, like, okay, what is he gonna do? He's like a weak guy, but we know that he's killed 3 other guys with a gun. So like this guy is certainly capable of violence.
Yeah,
it's just like the tension waiting.
The tension's building, and then it snaps, and like, oh my gosh, he like murders, like absolutely. Like,
do it again.
That's so bad.
He murders the coworker that sold him the gun.
Yeah,
yes.
that gave it to. Yeah, and I just gotta say, I don't like gore in movies, like at all. Like it's just not my cup of tea, and that was really jarring. I was like,
I was cringing the entire time. I was like,
really?
I liked it.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, like I know it's like a very just personal thing to me, where I just like, I can't like. This is why I also don't like watching like slasher films and stuff like that, and like it makes me like,
I know, it kind of,
sick to my stomach.
the way that he did it was very, like, again, it was very grounded. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
believable.
And it's the realism.
It's not like
That- yes.
of it
laser
that
beams
gets me.
shooting each
Right,
other.
exactly. So
it
that's-
was in a contained little office, well, not office, his little apartment.
right?
Yeah.
And he was just using a pair of scissors, and he just went crazy.
That's the thing. Like, there was nothing holding him back. So, like, I
Yeah.
certainly agree with gore and stuff. Like, I can tolerate it. I think I have the stomach for it, but it does make me cringe. But it definitely was necessary to add to the fact that, okay, this is now we're talking about Arthur as like the Joker.
At that point he has turned.
He's turned. He is now.
Well, yeah,
in
because
the state of power.
Murray actually said that he called Arthur a Joker on his show,
Right.
And so Arthur, I feel like in the same way that Thomas Wayne labeled the people, the citizens in Arthur's community as like these clowns. Now I feel like that was another label that was being thrown at Murray, but directly this time. So he was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I am that. And he does embrace
he embraced it.
And there's like a lot of other stuff that he went through from that time of like the clips being played and then to that apartment scene. Like a lot more has gone kind of wrong for him.
Well, he finds out that his mother, he actually was adopted, and he finds out that she was in a mental institution.
She was in Arkham,
Yeah, and
Arkham Asylum.
Yes, and he actually was like abused at a very young age, and like he found out that basically what happened was it was his mother's boyfriend that would abuse him, and I guess he has no recollection of this, obviously, because he's just now like finding all of this out.
Yeah, and I think there was like a lot of head trauma from the abuse.
Yeah,
which I think might have caused his condition,
or at least heightened it in some certain way.
And so like he finds out that the person that he's been like so protective over and caring for, he feels betrayed by her.
And also
and he's like, what?
He's been trying to meet, like before that he was trying to meet with Thomas Wayne. Like he went to the like Wayne estate and was messing around with little kid Bruce.
That's true.
And then I think was it
Alfred
that he was talking to? Yeah. Alfred was like, dude,
the butler,
get out of here. Yeah, like
who seemed more of a bodyguard in this instance, but
and he was like,
so.
You're not his kid,
right?
Your mom was crazy, get out of here. And he was like, my mom's not crazy. And he was kind of getting upset over that. And then later on he finally got to meet Thomas Wayne in like the bathroom of this movie that was like playing Modern Times,
right?
Like it was like a
Charlie Chaplin,
like an upper class like get together. And he like met him in the bathroom and was like, hey, you're supposed to be my dad. And Thomas Wayne's like, no, you're crazy. Your mom was crazy. Nothing ever happened. Like you were adopted, and was kind of telling him all this stuff, but of course he didn't believe it.
What do you guys think about that whole thing about just him being the brother of Batman, like a stepbrother of Batman?
Oh my God.
What do you
the aspect
think
of
about
that? Like
yeah.
if
that is insane, but it's so cool. I don't know.
It just adds on to like another.
It's just another layer of his character.
Another layer,
Exactly.
another thing that could connects with that.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows, like when you think about the Joker, of course, in this entire movie, you're thinking about like, okay, eventually Batman's gonna be part of this story, right? At least for me, that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, Batman has to appear somewhere, and like now we learn that Bruce is very little kid, but it's just like, oh, imagine! I can't wait for that moment where Bruce grows up to be Batman and finds out all this. Like so that puts like in my head, kind of like this is just all.
For me, it kind of
crazy.
made sense.
Yeah.
For the characters, because like a whole running thing with Batman and the Joker is that neither one kills each other,
right?
And them being brothers is a reason for them not to kill each other.
Oh,
that's
so
like
that's why I was like, I see.
That's something that's always holding them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just layers, man.
Yeah.
layers.
Layers and layers.
But going back real quick to the whole, like, after he kills his coworker, I need to like go step all the way back, but he kills a coworker, very like gruesome, very violent, but he lets the other one that was super nice to him go. Which people I didn't understand. People laughed at that, like when he couldn't reach the chain on the door.
It was it was like a little gag, but like
I didn't think that was funny.
You didn't think that was funny?
Well,
I thought that was funny.
That was like the only part of the movie
I thought it was funny because it's uncomfortable. It's like it's ridiculous.
It was,
I guess so.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
If I was in that, like if I was him, you know, the other coworker, like I would have been terrified.
Because you don't know. Like he's saying like, oh, I'm going to let you go. But like you literally just watched him brutally
he
murder.
Was sobbing. He was crying.
Yeah. So I think
he was like, Arthur, what the heck?
A difference between, right. I mean, I guess now it is a little funny, but it's a difference in perspective, right? Like, I don't know. I just thought like, oh God, this is terrible. This is all like just the worst.
It was just cool. It was just adding another scene, like another part of tension.
Right.
Of like, you know, he's going over to open the door. Like
he has
is he
to
gonna
ask
just straight
for
up
help from someone who's just
and like
brutally murdered someone.
If you compare like his first, so like when he first kills the three businessmen, it's more of like he's just like standing up for himself in that at that point. And with this, it's like definitely more like
personal because
he's
it's the
more
reason he got fired. He gave him the gun in the first place, and then he later threw him under the bus. This is like, I'm gonna get you for what you did to me.
Yeah. And then I mean, so like some of the first act of violence, and now we talked about this. Now it's leading up to like, this is like the moment. Before we get there, if because like I feel like once we talk about this is where like maybe turns for me.
I was gonna go back to the after he found out like that his mom was in Arkham Asylum, he went to the hospital and he he suffocated his own mother.
Oh my god, I totally forgot.
Like that was before.
Oh wow, wait, I forgot.
Oh no.
He suffocated. He suffocated Penny Fleck.
Yes,
his
mother
with a pillow because I think that was the first time it was very personal because he's like, here's this person who I've been protecting and taking care of, and she, to come to find out in his mind, he's like, she's betrayed me this whole time.
She lied to me. And she's the reason he's never been happy once in his life, even though like she's always told him, oh, my happy little boy and all this, but because of her, like he was like abused and like.
Do you think he didn't only kill his mom? You think he killed Arthur? I got the names mixed up. Like killed his past self. At that point.
Oh yeah, at that point.
Now
that I think about it, like
that's a turning point for him.
Like from that point, like he is no.
Because
he's kind of embracing
now he
this
finds
new
out
identity.
that he's not the person that he thought he was. His background is completely changed. Yeah.
I feel
Can I just mention again that it was just another realistic kill?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I was, okay.
It's
also,
just everything in this movie, I believe, which is why I love it so much.
Thinking about it now, wouldn't she been able to, like, click, like, the nurse help button thing?
Well, it's the 80s. I don't know.
Okay, there was another thing that people
We're a bunch of Gen Z kids.
is that, you know, he was suffocating her, but she did have the things going up into her nose.
Oxygen tubes.
I
mean, it kind of probably smashed up her face and was like blocking off her nose.
We're not supposed to question this guy.
Yeah,
we're just supposed to believe
the logic.
It. And I mean,
movie magic.
Now that we're talking about it, okay, there's things
suspension of disbelief.
I mean, maybe she is a weakened state though.
Yeah, she was. Like, she just had a stroke, and before she was already weak.
It could just be like she could definitely be taken aback by like the fact that her son is like suffocating her. So she's like, I don't know. I could only imagine what's going through her head.
Right.
Like,
I mean, but also you got to question, like, how responsible is this hospital if they aren't monitoring their patients' levels and like doesn't know when someone's literally dying?
Yeah, and like what I was gonna say was like, okay, his friends obviously come over to his house, or his former coworkers come over to his house to check on him because they hear that his mother has died. However, it's like, wouldn't like the doctors know exactly how she died, because like I don't know, like do an autopsy, like you can't, I guess, like
I think it was like the same day though, like when he went home, and I don't think they knew she died. I think they knew that she was in the hospital. Like I think they were like
they actually, I think they may have mentioned that she did die. I don't know, but either way, they were very like
they did because they came over to check on him,
right, because they thought that was such a devastating thing for him.
Maybe we just have it a little bit out of order.
Maybe I can't remember, but
yeah.
either way, after that, the police are certainly notified. Like, okay, the mom just died, and it's suspicious.
The two detectives
They're the ones,
have been following him.
Right. I mean, maybe those are the only two, it seems like, in the city that could probably have the brains to figure out that it has been Arthur that's been causing all this. Mm-hmm. And they're right on the brisk of like finding that out, and they try to come and see Arthur.
Yeah,
but he's on his way to the show. And
he's on his way to the show right after he just killed his former coworker, and he like finishes
and killed his mom.
Yeah, that's when you first see him in his full Joker suit,
and he's coming down the stairs. Yeah,
so
and he's dancing.
So really,
goes in the elevator.
They're no longer really like going. Well, not that they know this, but they're not going after Arthur. They're going after Joker, because like that's, you know what I mean. Like he's turned to that point where he is now this new image of himself, and
his new identity.
Right, and so, and you can see how much power he has, especially when he gets to, whether he knows that he has this power directly, but indirectly, like when they go chase him into the subway, there is a riot. There's also like a rally of like all this like we're protesting about Thomas Wayne and the higher ups.
Yeah,
and
other
all just, like, clowns.
other citizens of Gotham. They're dressed up,
taken to
with
the streets.
Clowns. Yeah, they're all on the train. Like it's completely crowded, and they're on their way, I think, to a protest, and that's where kind of Joker runs into, like to try to get away.
And it's absolutely insane in there off the bat, because like there's just so many people crowded, angry. You can feel like the tension rising, and then he goes in there. Of course, he blends in because he looks like all the others. But the detectives, of course, stand out as the ones who are kind of them being against him, Arthur.
Yeah, being part of the authority.
Is kind of like they're against all the others, and so a shot rings out and actually kills one of the protesters. And like I'm assuming, I don't remember, but I'm assuming the detectives like essentially die.
No, they
didn't.
By the crowd.
Yeah, because later, whenever Arthur finally makes it to the show, and he's dressed up as the Joker, one of the people that work at the studio, they were saying like, oh, I don't think it's a good idea to bring him on. He's dressed up. Like, is this political? Because like a protester was killed, and two cops were like brutally beaten, but they were stable in the hospital.
Oh, okay.
So they weren't killed, but they were badly beaten.
The power that he has, whether he knows that or not, just indirectly like.
And I think he starts to realize that
his whole army, like you said earlier.
He realizes it once he's actually on the show talking to Murray. Like,
man.
And as like an audience member, you're kind of like on edge, because you know that he was practicing, and his plan is to, because we know he has a gun with him,
right?
Because he was practicing in his living room how he's going to come out, and his plan is to shoot himself on the show as his like kind of final act.
Yeah,
but things like
it builds that up.
Yeah,
for that's what he's gonna do.
Yeah, things escalate
because he like practices at home.
Yeah, and he's like, because while on the air, and he's trying to tell these jokes, and everyone's like, "Oh, boo, you suck" and stuff, and then he really like goes on the defense.
Confesses.
He
says confesses to the three murderers.
He like gives up this whole
killings
attempt of being like, oh, like I'm gonna be funny and be a comedian. Like he's like, you know what, I'm gonna like embrace my own sense of humor, as he says,
right?
And I killed those three men, and I think it's funny. I don't care.
How about another joke, Murray?
Yeah. See, and then he talks about that, and it's just,
and Murray's like, why?
I think it's I mean, he gets on the show first, right? And he has this act planned where he is going to eventually, well, what we assume, like, kill himself. But I think that turned once Murray continued to mock him and pick fun at him and use him at the expense of his jokes. And then I think that's when he gets on the defense and he's like, well, you know what?
Yeah.
And that's when it flips.
Comedy is subjective. I like my sense of humor and it works for me.
Right.
Like, because he's like, you know what? You just pick on me. You make fun of me and you get all these laughs and you get all this support.
What was interesting is that they didn't stop the show immediately right when he mentioned about like killing the 3 businessmen. To me, that's the point where I would have thought, okay, commercial break, we're not doing this. But Murray keeps on stoking the fire, kind of building this tension. And he's kind of like, no, I want to see where this goes. Like, let's talk about, let's.
Yeah, because the audience is like,
questions.
Get this guy out of here.
So what do you think about that? What do you think about Murray's choice to keep the show going?
I think he was just trying to do his job and like keep the show running, like at all costs. Like, the show must go on.
Yeah, kind of get the scoop.
But like, dude.
I don't know about
and he also didn't know he had a gun. Like,
that's true.
He didn't know anything could happen.
I don't know. I
mean, it's the 80s.
I don't know if it maybe about like the expense of the show carrying on. It's just like he wants to get more out of him.
That's exactly what I think it was too.
Think so?
I don't think it wasn't like I don't think it was like, oh well, my show has to keep going. I think he really, really just wanted to keep talking to Arthur and like dive into all of this regardless of like whatever he was going to say.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I don't know if it would be the same kind of thing in real life, but like, you're the one that's got that golden information, so you want to try and get as much.
Yeah,
kind of like Oprah Winfrey.
He's gonna. Yeah,
like
exactly.
That is a good point.
That's what I think it is. Like,
but isn't that for the sake of the show, right?
Yeah. So I guess you're right. I feel like
for your own.
I feel like
profit.
Again, I feel like it was that's very
it's just selfish.
It's very exploitive to want to get just this exclusive story because this is like. Because it's based around this huge riot that's happening right now. Like, that's why all of these people are like, yeah, no, we are clowns. So
he started this. He confessed to starting this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's that common thread of like, these people are being taken advantage of, the expense of them being on the bottom, and that's sort of in that case when that show was like, I'm not saying like, well, I don't know. But obviously Murray was trying to get this, and like he knew he was going to be on top. He knew there was like no necessarily escape for Arthur because like he was going to get arrested. Like if everything went right,
things would end.
Everything would end and stuff, and like the bad guy would go away.
Yeah,
but the whole like shock, the whole like craziness, the whole like big part of the movie when everything reaches its highest point and it finally collapses is when he does his last joke, but not on him, but on Murray, and he freaking like executes him live on television. That point,
the whole movie was just it's like going up and up and up until that point.
I feel like, right then and there, like when that happened, everything just like froze for me. I was extremely just like, oh my god, I cannot believe that happened. And I think because of this movie was so real, and like I was talking about that scene before where I didn't find it funny that like I couldn't reach the door, like I was taken into that world. Like I felt like I was there because it was so real. Like if that would have happened on live television, like oh my god.
That's where I kind of see a lot of like the comic-y area of the Joker come in at that point. Like that character would do an execution on TV, and then he would go up to the cameras and laugh about it, and
and honestly,
and shoot him a couple more times. Just
I was looking for that because like going in, I don't know much about DC, but I know who the Joker is and like kind of what his character has been in the past, and at that point, that was so Joker.
It was. There's a couple mannerisms he has throughout the movie, like when he was being told that the sign was going to be out of his paycheck, you go into like a little flashback, or not a flashback, like of in his head, he's beating him up in like the kind of by the trash. He's like stamping on something.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
taking
Like just
everything.
his like mannerisms
Yeah.
of him beating up someone, and then him killing the guy who gave him the gun.
Right.
Like just the way he moves and acts is very comic jokery. That's kind of where I
Yeah.
see that part slip in. But then throughout the whole movie, it's still like a very grounded.
There's really no remorse with the Joker. You know, because it's just
Yeah.
like he's doing this because
Well,
part of the act.
I mean,
Some of it
you
he
see,
finds funny.
You see that after. I mean, he kills his mother. He's like, no, I feel great. Like he tells them, he's like,
Exactly.
no,
Yeah.
I'm like the happiest I've ever felt.
And even after that, well, go ahead.
Is that when he told them that she died? Like they were like, "Oh, we heard about your mom," and he's like, "Yeah, well, she's dead." And they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he's like, "No, I feel great. Feel
Yeah,
good."
I mean,
I think that might have been
that may have been how it
the
played out.
conversation.
But I mean,
Yeah.
either way, it was established that he was okay with it.
Yeah.
Wasn't really affected by it. But what were you going to say, Jordan?
Oh, I was about to say that I was a fan that his final joke to Murray was, about him, like about his life, because the whole kind of theme
Turn the
of the
tables, yeah,
movie
that's right.
was that he sees his life was a tragedy, but it was actually a comedy. So like the fact that his last joke was, "What do you get when you cross a society with a mentally ill person who abandons, the city abandons him, treats him like
Right.
crap."
And it's like, you get what you deserve.
Like, I don't know, I just thought that was like a really awesome way to kind
Yeah.
of like, that was his final joke. Like,
and I think like I definitely agree with you. Like that truly was his joke because
Yeah.
all the jokes beforehand, he kind of was mimicking other people. So yeah.
That
his,
is, yeah.
it's just making fun of himself.
See, this is well. That's why this movie to me made such a big like impression on me, because like I really didn't think this was gonna be a like outstanding movie, because just of all the like DC movies and just like I don't know, I just really for some odd reason I just didn't think it was gonna be good, but like this blew me away.
Yeah.
I mean, DC doesn't have like a good record of
Yeah.
movies, so like coming into it thinking it's gonna be
Right. And the last
like was understandable.
movie a Joker character was in was Suicide Squad with Jared Leto.
Right.
And that's a
Yikes.
whole nother thing. But this Joker,
I know,
I think,
from the
really
trailer-
ranks up there high.
From the trailer, I could tell that it was different.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, they're doing something different. They're
Right.
not focusing
And-
straight up on budget.
And the director Phillips, he said himself like, for this movie is just a movie. Like don't pay attention to Joker beforehand and what we've seen of DC. Come in with an open mind for
Right.
this character.
Did you want to talk about Sophie, that her whole character, and like
Oh, the
how
whole
how she played into everything? Because that was kind of a twist to me. Like
where you
catches you off
realize
guard, yeah.
you realize that it was
he
a delusion.
thinks, yeah. In the movie, it seems like she likes him. They're starting to date. Like
I was
he
pretty
has
sure she was
someone
actually going
to
to die.
She,
Like,
I mean, she
yeah.
might have. We don't know. Like, we never see what happens to her because, like, they start, dating
Which
and
is all in his
this, and
head.
she's there for him, and then eventually you find out, like, when he's like the most upset, he goes to her apartment, and she's like, "Who are you? Like, aren't you that guy from across the hall? Like, please get out. Like, I have a kid." Like, she doesn't know him, and you see, like, as flashbacks, she was never there with him.
Right. Which that was like part of like his whole
Yeah, delusion.
delusion, and like his character is just like he's crazy. He really
Yeah.
is. But this whole movie was like through his perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I think probably like throughout the entire movie, you're seeing things through his eyes and stuff, and you kind of have to just take it. You kind of trust it that what he's like, what is being shown is like this is in the best intentions for this character. Like this is the happy story. This is the good thing that needs to happen. but then you, of course, as a moral like person, you're watching this like, this person's crazy, this person is violent, this person is evil in a sense, but you're still in a way, especially at the end, I don't know, I think for me, if I was him, it's kind of like a job well done. He got his joke across, and he's being kind of celebrated in the streets. You can see him literally smiling.
Yeah,
as
he's getting his recognition.
To elaborate on what you said, that it was from Joker's perspective, is that Todd, like, this is where all these, what are they called? Like conspiracy theories about the whole movie. It comes into the fact that it is told from the Joker's perspective. And Todd Phillips saying that, the Joker is an unreliable narrator. So everything that you are being shown is from his perspective, might not even be real. So what I put down was that at the end, kind of when he was in the White Room laughing, to himself, and the therapist is like, what's funny? You wouldn't understand. From that point on, the whole movie could have just been in his head, is where the conspiracy theories were going. Like, he was just in Arkham the whole time, and that he could have just been a regular dude, and that he isn't the Joker.
Which, as a counter argument to that, because that, first of all, whoa, if that's the truth. But what I'm thinking now is I think that what he did, he actually did that, because as he walked away from that interrogation room or wherever that he was talking to that lady or whatever, his steps are bloody, right? So with that mindset, I'm thinking, okay, he killed her, which means that he's able to kill, which makes sense for everything else before about violence. That is him as a person. That makes it all the reality of the situation.
Yeah, and when he says that line, you wouldn't understand, that for me, I felt was that was really big, because now he's beginning to realize who she is, as this therapist, he obviously sees her as someone not on his side, and he understands that his humor is different. And it's just, I don't know. I thought it was really weird because, beforehand, when he does his comedy shows or whatever, he tries to connect to everyone. But now, at the end of it, he kind of realizes that, oh, she's not.
Yeah, he just embraces himself.
For himself. He might as well not waste my time and energy. It's just for myself.
Yeah.
So here's a question: do you think that we're going to see a continuation of this? Do you think there could be?
I hope so.
I'm kind of 50-50 on whether there will be, or if I even want there to be.
Yeah.
Because I would be perfectly happy just leaving it at that. We've got a great movie. Don't screw with it.
That is true. I mean, it leaves off where we know that he is now the Joker, right?
Yeah, and we see Batman's origins.
We do. Yeah, we know that this, Gotham now is more messed up than it was ever before.
They've set it all up pretty well for another one.
Yeah. But I just don't think that there will be. But I mean, if there is, I won't be too upset.
DC
but I think this is also just
yeah, I'd be interested in
good
it.
As it is.
I mean, if
it's anything like this,
yeah.
I'd pay to see it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's. I think it could work as a standalone.
Because there is talk of Robert Pattinson playing Batman.
Yeah, and Zoe Kravitz just joined as Catwoman.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's going to be in the same universe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I don't even know how that would work, because we know Bruce is super young in this.
Yeah, he's a little kid.
He's a little
and it's
kid.
in the 80s, so it'd be a modern.
But the Joker's, I mean, I don't know how Arthur's age in this. I'm assuming he's late 30s.
I'd say early 30s, maybe mid-30s.
Is it early 30s? Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
So.
But I mean,
I
either
don't know
way,
if they mentioned that or not, but
by the time that Bruce would
be grown up,
Joaquin Phoenix himself is 44, and I mean, I think it mentioned something about 30 years ago, she was in Arthur's mom was in Arkham Asylum. I think, yeah, because whenever he's asking for the files, he was like, yeah, normally like older stuff is down in the basement. You're talking about 30 years ago. So that's when he was a young kid. So about like Joaquin Phoenix's real age,
there's
like
like
44.
iterations of the Joker being older, and then Batman being either young or old. Like it.
Oh, okay.
It
See, I
can
didn't
kinda go
know. I
anywhere.
just, I always, in my mind, I think I always view the Joker.
But I mean,
And
if it's
Batman
Robert
the same age.
Pattinson, it's going to be like the younger Batman.
Right, exactly.
But
Yeah.
would you want one?
I don't know. I'm at the same point where I'm like 50-50 because I was so intrigued with the ending of that movie where it, I'm seeing like Gotham up in flames and then he's then celebrated, and that's such a opposite from like the beginning of the film where like he's down on the floor in the middle of an alley alone.
And he's like a nobody.
No
one knows him.
He picked himself up and everyone's around him to be celebrated.
Yeah, and he says that in his interview with Murray, like, oh, those 3 kids died, and it's everyone cares. But if he were dead lying on the street, everyone would just walk all over him.
But like that wasn't his intention to like become this figure.
Yeah.
To become, like this symbol for the people.
Like, because there was a lot of symbolism with him, like on the hood of the car, kind of like Jesus cross,
Yeah.
and then him being lifted
very
up,
true.
and
Very true. I don't know. It's something I think bottom line, this movie, they did it right. I think I certainly was very impressed, blown away by this movie. I'm going to go ahead and put my rating.
Go for it.
So I don't know if you know this, Jordan. We do this.
I did get notified.
You got notified how we do the rating system here.
You can just explain it again.
We'll explain it again. So for me, for the whole rating, how I would look at this is that we view it as enjoying a bucket of popcorn. And, if you eat it all, then that means you liked the movie. If you didn't really care to eat it, then you didn't really like it. That's the very basic term of it. For my bucket of popcorn, I was kind of like not very hungry for the popcorn because I thought my impression was like, it's not going to be that good. But oh my God, I could not get enough of it. And I was completely blown away. It was just totally something I was not expecting. And I'm still shook about it. Like remembering certain scenes has me kind of like spooked out. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to say I ate the whole popcorn bucket. It was amazing.
I feel the same way. Like I didn't know what to expect at first because I wanted to try and come in, no other, not hearing anyone else's opinion. I wanted it to be just mine. So I loved it. I loved the reality of it all. I loved how real it got, all of the emotion. Like I felt that. So I'd eat the whole bucket for sure. And I would watch it again.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Kat?
I would say from like, I kind of heard other people talking about it. I knew they were saying, popcorn was good. So had to try it myself, and definitely whole thing. And I would recommend others try it too because it was really good. You get so heavily invested into it, and it's a great movie.
I want to add that like if anyone who's listening, if you are skeptical about DC movies, like this is nothing like the other ones. It was definitely incredible. What about you, Jordan?
Man, oh man, I've been waiting for a movie like this for such a long time. Being like a comic kind of nerd in that way, and just seeing all these like movies, like, and only the Marvel movies kind of getting the right treatment for it has been like devastating to me because I've always kind of preferred the DC comics. But yeah, I had high expectations since I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, this could be so good. I hope that they actually get it right. And they did, and it was perfect. I loved it so much. Joaquin, I watched a couple of his movies prior, and I did like him, but like the casting, I was like, okay. I didn't really think that would have been like, I wouldn't have chosen him to be the Joker, but he did a perfect job. So yeah, I would eat the popcorn and the popcorn bucket, and I'll go for seconds.
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna buy this movie.
I know. I definitely want to see it again. I agree with you, Emily, that I want to see it again.
Yeah, definitely. Like I would love to go back and like pick out other things that I didn't probably
Yeah.
There's probably
see before.
so much.
Yeah, like, well, one thing I still didn't understand after the end of it was like, I don't know, like, I don't know what his motive was for this, but like, why did he get in the fridge?
Oh,
Do y'all remember that?
Yes.
That's
He
the
needed
only
some time to
thing.
cool off.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I guess some sort of like isolation from the world in a way, like because
Yeah.
everything was kind of a bit. I don't know. I'll want
That's a
to go
good
see it
question.
again. So
Yeah.
Joaquin, why'd you get in the fridge?
Why'd you get in the fridge, man?
Bruh.
I don't know. Well, anyways, I think this wraps up this episode. Thank you so much, Jordan, for
Yes,
joining
thanks
us.
for
as a
having
me,
special guest.
guys.
This was an outstanding movie, an amazing movie to talk about. I loved it. I definitely want to see it again. For our next episode, we're going to be talking about Alien, the 1979 first one. But yeah, so until then, stick around for that. And then that's it. Yeah, that's our podcast.
Thank
Okay.
you for listening.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Can't see, but I'm waving. Bye, guys.